impending release of Gears Tactics, we must learn more of Saren history. And what better way to learn of that history than from those who have survived it? From Damon Baird, survivor of the Kilo Squad. We start with an ad about bloodthirsty locusts on the day of emergence that will become known as E-Day throughout the military. It will be known as Emergence Day by Lori Penor. The attack came without any warning or declaration of war. Across Sarah, thousands, perhaps millions of enemies appeared from the ground and became what can only be described as a systematic campaign of human slaughter. Human forces are being mobilized against what is called the most disastrous attack in Saren history. As of this writing, no name for this group has been given and no demands have been offered. There is no communication, very little knowledge, and almost no hope for peace. All we have is a word: emergence. Something been breeding within the planetary sphere that we were naive to think was ours alone. And this affliction will hibernate no more. Say what you will of a culture that has only recently concluded a nearly century-long conflict. That war that began on Emergence Day is no war of men and women. It is something unknown and altogether terrifying. As reports arrive from what remains of the nations of the UIR, one thing is clear. This is an enemy that has no conception of honor. More chilling are the variety of methods on display. This was truly a planet-wide attack, with frightening reported by night in some regions and in the day's heat in others. The enemy army pours out from the ground like a scourge of locusts. They are armed with weapons that resemble our own, but that are of no human make. They walk in a lumbering, heavy stride, but in silhouette almost resemble a thrashball player in uniform. They are like us, but they are not us. Thus begins the journal of Damon Baird, with scratchings and drawings of the monsters he would soon encounter. Mom and Dad, you both had to die to do it, but you got what you wanted. I'm a gear. I know it's a little early for jokes. I tend to blow the timing on these things. There's not much else to laugh at out here. I don't know if you heard or not, but they're calling it E-Day, Emergence Day. The day the locusts came. We're still getting the reports, or what reports they want us to get. The COG's taken even more control than usual over the broadcast, and the news we're hearing is mostly bad. We've gotten pretty good at killing one another here on Sarah. Along comes something that's even better. They're saying billions are dead, but not how many. I don't want to know the numbers. The locusts must know what happened in the Pendulum Wars, as they focused on the losers first. Most of the UIR has been wiped clean. They've even killed a few million Grozny. I don't envy either side in that fight. You can see on the drawing a Cerapede, what looks to be a Boltok. And then I'm going to assume a Theron with those etched horns coming off the side. The next page continues. I heard a guy say today, I've never been an orphan before. I guess it takes some getting used to. You seem to be pretty good at it. Funny thing with our family, I may be an orphan, but I'm still a Baird. I'm sure that makes you happy. I guess now I'm allowed to say that it always felt like the name of the family mattered more to you than it did the people in it. Sorry, I'm not writing to tell you off. A few of the guys around here have taken to writing letters to the fallen, and I figured I'd give it a try. I've never been much of a letter writer. I've never been much of a soldier either. I guess I'm writing to tell you what happened, or to watch me tell myself. Self-awareness has never been my strength, but you know that. No one knows what the grubs want. They're not here to eat us or enslave us. They came from beneath the surface and seem only to want us out of their way. I hear they're big, but I haven't seen one yet, except for some quick shots on TV. I can't believe we've had a big, ugly, mean civilization under our feet for who knows how long. I hear they look like, as it continues upon the next page, where you see what looks to be a mauler, a beast, and a nemesis. I hear they eat rocks and smell like they eat something else. They say they have animals, but we're not talking about something I'd send to fetch my slippers. Monsters riding monsters, hordes of shrieking animals spilling machine gun fire into fleeing crowds, eradicators. I got into an argument with a mouthy guy in a transport unit over whether it was still called genocide when you went after an entire species. After about 20 seconds, I realized the implication of what I was saying and felt sick. The other guy never even seemed to notice. For now, I'm in the barracks. All the military guys are pretending that things are business as usual, as if they had been worried they'd get canned once everyone realized the pendulum wars were over. They've shifted us around a few times. First step was out of Jacinto, and I stopped paying attention from there. So I'm going to be a gear, or I guess I am a gear. I'm still waiting for someone to shake my hand and tell me that that last part has actually come to pass. There's been a lot of confusion about training, unit placements. Some people say they're going to train us the old-fashioned way, but others say they're putting together a new program focused on fighting this new enemy. Mentioned that if anyone had figured out to fight the locusts, they should be out there doing it. Comments like that mean I'm not the most popular guy with some of the officers. I don't expect that to change. Maybe I'll become one myself and see if that makes any difference. I don't know what unit or even what classification I'll be sorted into. I spent the day taking test exams, measuring everything from aptitude to breathing rates. I'm sure I did fine. You know me, I'm good with tests. They asked if I had a preference for placement. I said no. In the front of my brain and the back of my throat were the words, "In the rear, with the gear." But that's because the gear has always been what I'm best at. Time to try something else. It's late here. If you don't mind, I might do this again if you have any objections. Now's the time to say so. We see a coalition reserve note. Covered up a piece of propaganda. We need gears. Fight the Indies. Make friends. Save Sarah. If you like things such as adventure and freedom and hate things such as repression and fear, you already know what values are worth fighting for. Gears are what keep the great wheel of the cog turning. Don't miss out on your opportunity to take the oath. Which way will the pendulum swing? But with this new war, you can see it scrabbled on the bottom of the page. It's time for a new slogan, guys. As we continue forward, Damon begins writing his father another letter. Hi, Dad. I'd appreciate it if you could keep this between us. I think you'd understand in a way Mom maybe wouldn't. Or, I guess I don't know what Mom would think. She'd probably be proud of me, but let's just keep this between ourselves. I'm going to be on the front lines. I'm going to stare our enemies in the face and fill them with bullets. I was offered a gearhead job. Engineering Defense Research Agency. I tested off their charts, they said. I could be Adam Phoenix's right-hand guy, they said. I said no. This war isn't about everyone having a special talent. It's about getting as many gears in the field as possible. I made my decision from a perspective that was 90% strategic and 10% personal. I see you nodding your head at this one. It's a funny kind of logic. We don't understand the enemy we're fighting. We're up against techniques and technology that make no sense. If I'm one of our best and brightest, lucky me, I should be doing what I'm good at. It would make sense for me to spend the rest of the war looking at the chemical reactions and building better power units. Oh well. Speaking personally, and as a neophyte military strategist, I want to kill the things that are killing us. That's what matters. If I believed in life after death, I'd say I'd be happy to see you there, and that it may be sooner rather than later, but I believe being a soldier is a skill that's like anything else. I can learn it, and that's how I'll make a difference. On the next page, we find the certificate of death of Damon Baird's mother. Her full name, Jocelyn Baird. They lived on 7469 Way of the Sovereigns. She was 62 years old, 4 months and 17 days. She was born in Ephyra. Her last name known would be Baird, continuing a long legacy of an honorable, legendary family of Sarah. Underneath, the scribblings continue. They're certainly doing all they can to train me. The armor takes some getting used to. I'm sure you remember that. After 80 years of pendulum wars, you'd think they would have found some form of composite to lighten this stuff up a little bit. And the Lancer I've been given has a good amount of stopping power, but the bayonets on these things are probably less than useless. From what I'm hearing, the Locusts have pretty thick skin, and it takes a good amount of ammo to put one down. I'm sure someone will think of something better. There I go, thinking like an engineer again. Gonna have to learn how to keep my mouth shut about that stuff. I can practically hear you laughing. Speaking of which, I'm sorry you didn't get to have a funeral. Falling asleep last night, I imagined myself getting up before all your friends and all the government people, making myself out to be a grieving, dutiful son. I've been through this in my head before. There have been various permutations of it. You at my funeral, Mom and me at your funeral, you and me at hers. The speech I give is a little different each time. I even thought about a version in which you and Mom died together in some kind of vacation mishap, or freak accident or something. I think I could have handled that one the best, not having to worry about what either you or Mom thought of the speech. I would give grieving the other. Would have made it that much easier to give. The one version I never imagined was the one in which Baird could die without a funeral. And that's the world we live in. The one I live in. Sorry that I keep reminding you that you're dead, but now that my fantasies are dispelled, I don't need to worry about my ability to solemnly spout off regrets in a hall. As we turn the page, you will find a picture showing the vast skills of Damon Baird. His name, his middle initial. He was single at the time of this taking. We see where he was addressed to, was signed, Loyalty Barracks 117. He was right, though. His numerical ability and his spatial ability and his technical ability tested off the charts. They would have placed him in the 2nd Battalion Royal Ephirian Engineers, but Baird had other designs in mind. We now find ourselves reading the last of his entry scribblings into his Field Notes General Issue Journal. Full of epaulets and judge's robes, I just need to pull a trigger. If someone asked me to say something, I'd like to say that having survived D-Days made me appreciate life more. That as I'm walking through the world looking for opportunity, full of the kind of confidence that comes from having seen billions of people vanish in a few days, the grass does seem greener. That I made the decision to put myself on the front lines of a conflict that's burning through gears like a bonfire gone wrong, because I can't imagine what else I can possibly do with myself in a world where monsters riding other monsters are burning down our cities. I wish I could give that speech. I also wish you hadn't died, if only because I'd like to see your reaction to watching your son in full cog regalia trudging a lancer through a mud pit. You and Mom told me that's what you wanted to see me become. Sometimes I think you said it because you knew it would be the last thing I would ever do. I'd love to see your face, but more than anything, I'd love to know that if, having met your expectations, you would have something new for me to become. Damon. That will conclude our initial run into the field notes of one Damon Baird, the leader of the Kilo Squad. We will pick up next time and continue on with his entries of all the field data he has found. This is Colin the Crow Clark. I thank you for tuning into the video. I hope you like it. I hope you maybe subscribe and tell me if this is the kind of material you'd like me to continue further.